Welcome, welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Today, we are truly diving deep. I mean, really deep. We've got source material covering two subjects from completely different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, it's quite the contrast we're looking at today. Fascinating stuff, though.
Definitely. Get ready, because we're going to explore some hidden mechanics that shape our reality. We're talking the universe's tiniest building blocks, and then switching gears completely to the intricate web of human trust and economics.
It is a profound contrast, isn't it? Going from these, fundamental, almost bizarre laws at the smallest scales to the very human, sometimes unsettling world of online schemes.
Exactly. But like you said, both offer these really deep insights into what's going on underneath, just on totally different canvases.
That's right, different forces at play.
So our twin deep dives today are, first up, the mind-bending principles and, maybe surprisingly, the real-world impacts of quantum physics. And then, a sharp turn. We're diving into a really compelling and, frankly, cautionary tale. The complex case of an online financial scheme that, well, it pulled in millions. It was called Speak Asia Online.
Right. So our mission here is to pull out the most important bits of knowledge, the key insights from both these areas. Distinct topics, yes, but equally intriguing.
Think of it as your shortcut, your express lane to getting informed, understanding not just the what, but maybe a bit of the why and how behind these powerful forces.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's dive into quantum physics first. There's that famous quote from Richard Feynman, right? If you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand quantum mechanics.
Well, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. It sets the stage perfectly.
And it's timely, too, because 2025 is actually the International Year of Quantum Science and Technology. It marks, 100 years since it really started developing?
Full century, yeah.
So for anyone maybe needing a quick refresher or, if this is new territory for you, what is quantum mechanics? What's the core idea?
Okay, so at its heart, quantum physics is really the study of matter and energy at the most basic, most fundamental level possible. It's trying to figure out the properties and behaviors of, nature's building blocks.
The absolute smallest stuff.
Exactly. And it didn't just appear out of nowhere. It came about back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Scientists were looking at atoms, doing experiments, and the results just didn't make sense according to the classical physics rules everyone knew.
Like the old rule book just didn't work anymore.
Precisely. It forced this huge realization that energy and matter aren't smooth and continuous like we thought. They actually come in these discrete little packets or chunks. They call them quanta.
Quanta. From the Latin for how much, right?
That's the one. Little specific amounts.
And this is where, for me anyway, it starts to get really weird, really interesting. Like the whole idea about electrons. We usually picture them zooming around in nucleus like tiny planets, don't we? That's the classical picture, yeah. But quantum mechanics says it's fuzzier than that. They exist in what we call orbitals.
Orbitals, not orbits. Right. Think less of a fixed path, more like a cloud. A probability cloud around the nucleus. We can't pinpoint an electron and say it's right here. We can only talk about the probability, the likelihood of finding it in a certain region.
Okay, so it's all about chance.
In a fundamental way, yes. And here's another strange part. Electrons can jump between these orbital energy levels instantly, but they can never be found in between levels.
Like they teleport. No halfway point.
Kind of, yeah. It's like you can stand on step 1 or step 2 of a staircase, but you can't hover in midair between them. It's a quantum leap.
Wow. Okay, that leads us into the core principles then, the really defining ideas.
Exactly. These are the concepts that really separate quantum physics from our everyday macroscopic world. First up, there's wave-particle duality.
Ah, yes, the classic. Things being two things at once.
Sort of. It means things we normally think of as either a wave, like light spreading out, or a particle, like a tiny billiard ball, can actually show properties of both. It depends entirely on how you measure them.
So light can be a wave or particles, photons.
That's right. And it's not just light. Matter, like electrons, can behave like waves too. Modern physics just sees them as quantum objects that have both aspects. Our classical labels don't quite fit.
Okay. And then you mentioned superposition. That one always bends my brain a little.
It bends everyone's brain. It basically means a quantum object can exist in multiple possible states at the same time. All possibilities are happening simultaneously.
Like that spinning coin idea. Heads and tails at once until it lands.
That's a great analogy. Until you perform a measurement, until you look, the particle is in a superposition of all its potential states. The act of measuring forces it to choose one state, one reality.
So observing it changes it.
In a sense, yes.
Well.
Which leads us to the uncertainty principle. This isn't about having bad measuring tools. It's a fundamental rule of the universe.
Okay.
It says there's a built-in limit. You cannot know certain pairs of properties of a quantum object with perfect accuracy at the same time. The classic example is position and momentum like velocity.
So the more precisely you know where it is, the less precisely you know how fast it's going, and vice versa.
Exactly. It's a fundamental trade-off. You can't have both perfectly defined simultaneously. And then there's entanglement.
This is the one that sounds like science fiction.
It really does. It's incredibly strange. You can link two or more quantum objects, say particles, so they become connected, fundamentally part of the same system.
Even if they're far apart.
Even if they're light years apart, they behave as one. If you measure a property of one particle, you instantly know the corresponding property of the other one. Instantly. It's like they're communicating faster than light, though it's more subtle than that. It's a deep connection.
Wow. Okay, so with all these concepts being so counterintuitive, so hard to picture, math must be incredibly important here, right?
Absolutely crucial. Mathematics is the language of quantum mechanics. Because we can't easily visualize it, we rely on math to describe this probabilistic world. We use something called a wave function.
A wave function.
Think of it as the mathematical description that contains all the information about a quantum system. It tells you the probabilities of finding a particle in a certain state or place if you were to measure it. The famous Schrödinger equation describes how these wave functions evolve over time.
And you mentioned measurement or observation changing things. The observation effect.
Yeah, though measurement is probably a better term. It's not necessarily about a conscious observer watching, it's about the interaction.
Oh, okay.
The act of measuring involves an interaction between the quantum system and something external, the measuring device, the environment. This interaction causes that superposition, that wave of possibilities, to collapse into one definite state. We see particle-like behavior then.
But we don't fully understand how that collapse happens.
That's still one of the big interpretational debates in quantum physics. How exactly does that transition from probability to definite outcome occur? It's a deep question.
And the experiment that shows all of this in action is the double slit experiment, isn't it?
That's the cornerstone. It's just beautiful in its simplicity and profound in its implications. You shoot particles, like electrons, one by one at a barrier with two slits.
Right.
And even though you send them one at a time, they create an interference pattern on the screen behind the slits, just like waves would. It shows they somehow go through both slits at once, superposition.
But if you try to detect which slit the electron goes through,
Then the interference pattern vanishes. The act of measuring forces it to behave like a particle, going through one slit or the other, not both. It demonstrates wave-particle duality, superposition, and the measurement effect all in one go.
incredible. Okay, so this is fascinating mind-bending theory. But you said it has real-world impacts. Is it just in labs, or do we actually use this stuff?
Oh, we absolutely use it. It's not just theory, it's the foundation for a lot of modern technology. It's pretty much everywhere, often hidden in plain sight.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Okay, well, solar cells. The way they convert sunlight into electricity relies directly on the quantum behavior of electrons absorbing photons and jumping energy levels in semiconductor materials.
So that quantum leap is powering things.
In a way, yes. Then you have medical scanners, like MRI machines. They use the quantum property of atomic nuclei called spin to create incredibly detailed images inside the human body.
Right, MRI. I didn't realize that was quantum.
Fundamentally, yes. And LEDs, light-emitting diodes. In your phone screen, your TV, your light bulbs, they work because electrons fall from higher to lower energy levels in a semiconductor, releasing energy as photons of light. That's a quantum process.
Wow. Okay, even GPS.
Even GPS. It relies on extremely precise timekeeping from atomic clocks, and those atomic clocks are based on the incredibly stable and predictable frequencies of atomic transitions, which are, you guessed it, governed by quantum mechanics. The precision needed for GPS wouldn't be possible without understanding quantum physics.
That's amazing. It really is underpinning a lot of things we take for granted. So looking ahead then, what's the future potential? Where is quantum science taking us next?
The potential is just enormous. It promises revolutions across so many fields. The big one everyone talks about is quantum computing.
Right, using entanglement and superposition for calculations.
Exactly. Instead of bits being 0 or 1, quantum computers use qubits, which can be 0, 1, or both at the same time thanks to superposition. And entanglement links these qubits together.
Meaning they can crunch data way faster.
exponentially faster for certain types of problems. Think about discovering new drugs, designing new materials, breaking complex codes, or optimizing huge systems. Tasks that would take current supercomputers billions of years might take a quantum computer hours or days.
Like diagnosing diseases faster, you mentioned cancer.
Potentially, yes. Analyzing complex biological data or simulating drug interactions, or making things like facial recognition far more powerful, though that obviously brings its own ethical questions too.
Sure. What else? Beyond computing.
Well, designing more efficient wind farms, for example, by optimizing turbine placement using quantum simulations. Improving food security, maybe designing crops that are more resistant to climate change through predictive modeling and advanced gene editing, informed by quantum insights.
Wow. Securing documents, too.
Yes, quantum cryptography, using entanglement to create fundamentally unhackable communication channels or secure keys for things like passports or financial transactions. Imagine a key generated by entangled particles. Any attempt to eavesdrop would disturb the system and be instantly detected.
That sounds incredibly secure.
It could be. Also, things like water purification, using quantum simulations to design materials that can specifically target and remove harmful chemicals. And in fundamental science itself, like at CERN's Large Hadron Collider, quantum techniques are improving data analysis and allowing for ultrasensitive detectors to find new particles or phenomena.
It sounds like it's going to touch almost everything.
It really has that potential, and that's why you see initiatives like CERN's Quantum Events Season in 2025. They're really trying to connect the science with society.
Like that Imagining Quantum City event you mentioned, exploring sustainable uses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
June 19th, 2025. It's about thinking through the societal implications, the opportunities, the challenges. How do we use these powerful tools responsibly for a better future? It's a conversation we need to be having now.
Absolutely. Okay. Wow. That was quite a journey through the quantum realm, from particles being in two places at once to powering our GPS and potentially revolutionizing, well, everything. It's fundamental stuff. Right. So now, let's take a deep breath and pivot. We're shifting from that ethereal world of quantum mechanics, where things are governed by probability and observation, to something much more tangible, but perhaps just as complex in its own way. The world of human trust, promises, and online finance.
It's definitely a sharp turn. We're moving from the microscopic physics of the universe to the macroscopic dynamics of human behavior, belief, and economics.
And it raises that question, doesn't it? If understanding quantum reality takes careful analysis, how crucial is it to apply that same critical lens to the claims people make in the financial world, especially online?
Extremely crucial. The mechanics might be different, human psychology versus quantum laws, but the need to look beneath the surface to question assumptions is just as vital.
So our next deep dive is into Speak Asia Online. This company emerged promising something very attractive: easy money just for filling out online surveys.
A tempting offer for many.
Their model required people to pay a sign-up fee first. Initially, it was around 11,000 rupees, but later it went up to 15,000.
Not an insignificant amount for many people.
Not at all, and it caught on like wildfire. Reports suggest they attracted around 1.3 million people. That's a huge number. We're talking students, middle-class individuals. Some apparently even took out bank loans to join.
That scale is staggering, and it wasn't just about doing surveys yourself, was it? There was more to the model.
Right. It quickly became clear it had this multi-level marketing, or MLM, structure baked in.
Ah, the MLM element.
Yeah. Members were apparently told that getting more accounts buying in multiple times would mean more surveys, more earning potential. So it encouraged reinvestment.
And recruitment, presumably.
Absolutely. The big push was to recruit friends, family, anyone you knew, create this downline. It was described by some almost like a Richie Rich style job, this idea of getting incredibly wealthy with very little actual work, mainly through recruitment.
That's a classic MLM promise, often bordering on pyramid scheme territory if recruitment becomes the main source of income rather than actual product sales or services.
And almost right away, people started raising red flags. There's a lot of skepticism from critics.
Understandably so.
But the company managed to build a lot of confidence.
How?
Through some pretty slick, high-budget advertising. TV commercials, newspaper ads.
Spending money to make it look legitimate.
Exactly. Money that critics immediately said was just the sign-up fees from new members, what they called innocence money, being recycled into marketing.
And this wasn't happening in a vacuum, right? Critics pointed to a history of similar schemes.
Yes, that was a major point. They drew direct comparisons to other companies that had popped up and then collapsed. Names like Unipay2U, Visarev, Global Index Wing, Stock Guru India, TVI Express, Japan Life, even something called Quantum Funds Online.
Quite a list, all labeled as online survey scams.
Pretty much. The core accusation was the same across the board. This looked like a Ponzi scheme. The money being paid out to earlier members wasn't coming from legitimate clients paying for survey data.
It was coming from the sign-up fees of new recruits lower down the structure.
That was the allegation. A rotation of money like a pyramid, as some put it. Not sustainable and reliant on constantly finding new people to pay in. It really highlights how these schemes prey on that desire for easy money, using social networks and glossy ads to build false trust.
The investment is really just funding the illusion for those higher-ups.
And specific companies allegedly named as clients started pushing back too. Big names like ICI Bank and Bata publicly denied having any business relationship with Speak Asia.
That's a huge blow to their credibility, surely, if your supposed clients say they aren't clients.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
Plus, critics pointed out a basic logical flaw. If one person could hold multiple accounts, why would a real research company pay for the same opinion multiple times? It defeats the purpose of getting diverse data.
Right. If I have 5 accounts, my opinion on a product is still just my opinion. Filling out 5 surveys doesn't give them 5 unique data points. It's useless for genuine research.
Exactly. And then there were the financial questions. This is where it gets really interesting. Critics asked, how could Speak Asia possibly afford to pay Rs 500 for just one survey?
When the industry standard was much lower.
Way lower. More like Rs 60-70 per survey, apparently. Where was this huge premium coming from? Especially when supposed big clients, like Tata Motors, didn't show any corresponding massive spending on research and development in their own financial reports.
The numbers just didn't add up if it was legitimate survey work.
And on top of that, the company didn't have an actual office in India and wasn't registered there. That raised serious questions about taxes, accountability. Where was the oversight?
A lot of warning signs stacking up. Lack of transparency, questionable financials, client denials.
But Speak Asia and its supporters, they fought back hard. They had their defense. They insisted this wasn't an investment scheme at all.
What did they call it?
Contractual employment. They framed it as people being paid for work done filling surveys. And they pointed to their registration in Singapore. They provided an ACRA number as proof they were a legitimate international company.
Okay, so positioning themselves as a global entity, employing people remotely.
And they went on the offensive against the media, particularly Star News, which broke the story initially.
Accusing them of bias.
Yes, claiming it was all down to business rivalry. They pointed out that Star TV had launched its own online survey platform around that time called Star Panel.
Ah, a potential conflict of interest, they argued.
Exactly. And Star Panel was different. It offered free membership, paid via PayPal, not bank deposits like Speak Asia. So supporters painted the Star News reports as a TRP stunt, chasing ratings, or even a dirty trick to damage a competitor.
Interesting defense tactic, deflect by attacking the messenger's motives.
They also made other points. The CEO apparently said they're willing to be reviewed by India's financial regulators, the RBI and SEBI. They claimed they'd already paid 64 crores in taxes to the RBI.
Trying to show compliance and transparency, at least publicly.
And they used the classic non-disclosure agreement excuse for not naming their clients publicly, said they were bound by NDAs. They also mentioned plans were underway to open a Mumbai office.
Covering the bases, addressing the criticisms one by one, whether convincingly or not.
But then things started to unravel more seriously. Reports emerged that Speak Asia's bank accounts in Singapore, held at UOB, had been frozen.
Which would mean
Payments to the panelists, the members, stopped. That obviously caused huge alarm among the 1.3 million people involved.
the money tap got turned off. That's often the beginning of the end for these schemes. What did the regulators say?
Well, the RBI clarified its position. They stated they don't actually regulate MLM schemes directly, but they would look into Speak Asia's remittances, the money flows. So still some official scrutiny happening.
A complex regulatory picture.
And then a final strange twist. That Critical Star News video we mentioned, it apparently got removed from YouTube. The reason given was that it violated YouTube's terms of service.
Huh. That adds another layer of intrigue.
Yeah. And eventually, the online conversation seemed to shift. You started seeing comments advising people to just, forget Speak Asia, it was past, start blogging. A sort of resignation, maybe. A move to put it behind them.
A rather abrupt end to a massive phenomenon. A really cautionary tale about due diligence and the lure of easy money online.
Absolutely. What an incredible range we've covered today. from the absolute bedrock rules of the universe in quantum physics,
Where reality itself is probabilistic and strange.
all the way to the intricate, very human dynamics of a massive online financial scheme built on promises and trust, or perhaps the abuse of it.
It really has been quite the spectrum, but there's a powerful lesson weaving through both, I think. Whether you're grappling with quantum uncertainty or the claims of an investment opportunity, it really underscores the vital importance of looking deeper, understanding the underlying mechanics, questioning what you're told, and demanding transparency.
Transparency. That seems key. Whether it's about the state of a quantum particle before measurement or the true source of funds in a business venture, the lack of it can obscure reality.
Precisely. In both cases, what you see isn't always what's really going on beneath the surface. Critical evaluation is essential.
So, a final thought for you, our listeners. What stands out to you from this deep dive? How does the idea of transparency, or its absence, shape how you understand things? Whether it's a scientific concept or a real-world promise, maybe consider how that might shape your own deep dives into information in the future. How do you separate the probable from the definite, the real from the illusion?
Keep asking questions. Keep digging deeper. Whether you're exploring the frontiers of science or just navigating the complexities of modern life and finance, that curiosity and critical thinking are your best tools. Don't just accept the surface story.